All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Thursday, the 12th of November, and we are in session IC10. This goes in your digital notebook under session IC10. Your ICANN statement today is I can recognize some of my author's trademarks or techniques, otherwise known as their writing style. Their writing style is the reason that you like or dislike an author. Quick notes. Remember, every day, do your attendance, check your email, and read. Today, I want you to look at the modules on the shelf, and we're going to look at a quick Powtoon about recognizing an author's style. I have questions for you to answer in your book club notebook today, and I'm going to show you what that needs to look like. If you have not met with your group, you need to do that. If you find that you are not getting in touch with anyone, then you need to do a notebook on your own. Otherwise, you're not going to get a grade. If you're waiting around for other people, that's going to get you a big fat zero. So either get in touch with those people or do it on your own. I realize some of you have tried to get in touch with people and others are not responding, and that's not your fault. Unfortunately, it is your problem because you still need to do a notebook. You still need to answer all these questions. You still need to do flip grids. You need to do everything. Read. I'm going to give you time to do that today, the last half of class. And of course, as always, if you need to have a refresher, you can watch this lesson again on video. On the bookshelf, there's an example of the page that you need to create in your book club notebook today. Each person needs to do their own page. And then, of course, I've left up the book club assignments, which means that you can click on that to find out who's in your club, where the links are to go to Flipgrid, where the link is to get to the book that you're supposed to be reading. You should know all this by now, but just in case, I've left it there for you. Your book club reading log, which you should already have put in IC8, and you should be recording your reading every single stinking day, people, every day. And the book club meeting log, one person in your group should be filling that out every time your group meets. Again, if you never did finish listening to the Matt Pena story, it's here. We will be talking about that again at some point. Right now, I feel it's more important for you to focus on your book clubs. So let's look at recognizing authors' style. A lot of times when we read, we'll find a book that we like, and then we think, oh, I want to find another book by this author because this was really good. Well, that's because you like the way that they write. More than likely, you like the topic of the book, you like the theme of the book, but you like the style, the way they communicate the story to you is comfortable for you, and you like it. It's a good read for you. It's a good fit, and that's why a lot of people read series of books. Okay, a lot of people read trilogies or anthologies or just groups of books because they like the way that author speaks to them. So let's look at recognizing author's style for just a moment.
Do you have a style all of your own? What kinds of things make up your style? The way you style your hair, the clothes you wear, the music you like, and the way you decorate your room all contribute to your style. It is uniquely yours. No one has a style quite like the one you have. The same holds true for authors. They each have a style that is uniquely their own. An author's style is unique to that particular person. No two authors are alike. The characteristics of an author's style include the tone the author uses, common themes, use of flashbacks, changes in points of view, and open endings, to name a few. Some authors become known for using certain techniques in each of their works. This combination of techniques is their style. Let's examine a couple of authors and their unique styles. Emily Emily Dickinson was a fascinating poet. One characteristic that contributes to her style is her use of first person point of view. She was not always the narrator. She often told her poems from the point of view of other people. She also rarely titled her poems. Another characteristic is her strong use of metaphors. Another distinctive style is that of Langston Hughes. One of his writing characteristics includes his incorporation of jazz and blues rhythms into his writing. He also used slang in his poetry that was largely popular with the African American community of his time. Much of his writing focused on what it was like to be part of the African American community. This shaped his writing style. As you can see, a number of factors contribute to an author's style. The way an author uses tone, themes, topics, and many other characteristics shapes that author's style, helping readers to easily recognize him or her.
All right, so that tells you a little bit about an author's style. Every author finds their own niche, the way that they write, and it sort of is consistent through everything that they write. Even if they write about different subjects and different things, their style always shines through the same way. The next thing I want to talk to you about today is I do have a series of questions for you to answer today in your book club notebooks. And if you click here, you're going to find a link to the questions. And it says paste the following questions to a page in your group book club notebook so that all members can reference them. So, what I'm asking is this is probably going to be maybe your web designer or probably your web designer should paste this into a blank page so that all of you who need to go in there and do your pages can go look at the questions. That being said, you can always look here for the questions. Each of you will have your own page. You will add pages to the notebook so that you have your own pages. You know how to add pages, so that's not a problem. I'm going to ask that you follow the directions very carefully. The first one is, again, your name. And I want you to include, along with your name, an avatar, a bitmoji, or some sort of an image to represent who you are. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The title of your book and the author. And I'd like you to put an image of the cover of the book in there as well. Then I want you to pick a character from the story and give 3 internal traits, 3 things about them, about what kind of a person they are, and use evidence from your book to support those answers as well. Number 4, pretty basic. What's the problem? What's the conflict? What's going on in the story here? You should be deep enough into your book. You absolutely know the conflict. You know the problem. And what happens in the beginning of the book? You've got to know that. You should be well past the beginning of the book right now. What's going on right now? What's the situation? Then number 6 is make a personal connection to the story. What happened in your life that's similar to the events in the story? And you're going to find sometimes you have to stretch to do that. Just watch because you're going to see me do that. You're going to see me stretch. Not a pretty picture, by the way. And number 7 just says add some images, memes, graphics, GIFs, GIFs, things that relate to the responses to questions 4 through 6. So this is something that you will paste into a page in your notebook. It's instructions, but you can always click on this link and find the questions yourself. So that's not a problem. The other thing I want you to do, if you've not met with your group yet, you need to do that. What are you waiting for? I don't know. A couple of groups met the other day and I got to sit in on a couple of things. They did very, very well. I was really quite proud of you. Make sure you're doing your flip grid responses. They're due Friday, ladies and gentlemen. The flip grid responses are all due Friday. Um, read, 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 read. And of course, there's the lesson. But over here, I'm going to show you. You don't need to see any of these book club things. You've seen them a half a dozen times now. But here's an example of what I want you to do when it says questions for the notebook. Here's an example of what it's going to look like. So here's your notebook, and clearly I haven't set this one up. This is just an example for you to look at. But you're going to add a slide. So your webmaster, as I said, is going to put those questions in, and they'll probably put those in, I don't know, slide three or wherever it fits in here, doesn't really matter. And then after that, you will go to slide, new slide, and you'll put that into the notebook, and that's where you're going to work. So I've already done that. I've already created the new slide, and everything that I have is here, and I'm just going to show you what it's going to look like. So the first thing that I had to do was put my name on it, right? So I did that. I also put the session, IC10. It's important that you do that just so you can keep track of where you are. All of you need to do that. If you have a question, look at my example. You need to have your name and the session on there. It's very important that you do that. And then I put a little Bitmoji of me on there so that you know that's me. That's who I am. Um, Working from home. That's me, always working from home. That kind of looks like my computer too, as a matter of fact. And then I put the name of the book, the cover. So I didn't have to put the name and the cover because the name is on the cover. So this is the book, The Loop. I really like this book. I need to read the other two in the series. I haven't had a chance to do that, but it's by Ben Oliver, and I really do enjoy the way he writes. So one of the questions is what happens in the beginning of the book. Well, in the beginning of the book, Luca Kane is just coming out of a delay. This is something that the prison does, which allows inmates to delay their execution by volunteering for experiments, which are painful, cause disease, and sometimes even death. Um, and just to add to that a little bit, I mean, they do that because every time they do a delay, they get like between 3 and 6 months extension of life before they get executed. Um, the main problem in the book is that Luca doesn't want to die. He's in prison. He's in prison for murder, um, which, by the way, he did not commit. And he's always looking for a way to escape. So when the odds are against him, he doesn't give up. And I can relate to this in a way because, and this is the stretch that I talked to you about. And notice, I'm not doing these necessarily in the order that the questions were posed. They don't have to be in that order. They just have to all be here. So when I ask you to relate to the story, well, this is a dystopian story, which I believe we're starting to live in a dystopian world now. But this one is extreme. And Luca has been imprisoned for killing someone, which he didn't do, but that didn't matter. And he's in there, he's fighting for his life. He does everything he can to extend his life because he thinks maybe he might be able to get out somehow. Something might happen. So when the odds are against him, he doesn't give up. And I can relate to that in a way because I've had times in my life when the odds were totally against me and I had no choice but to keep going because my children depended on me and I was determined to succeed. Well, um, you'll find in life that this happens a lot. So, um, in my situation, my life didn't depend on it, but the welfare of my family did. And to me, that is my life. And so that's how I tie it. And yes, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm sorry, I've never been in prison. So that's the closest I can come. But I still find a way to relate to what's going on with the character. So one of the other questions said something about three character traits, inner traits of the character, things that you figured out, and you need to make sure that you reference things from the story as you do that. So I said Luca Kane is a teenager with no hope of a future. Despite that, he finds a way to manipulate the prison system, and he does. Character traits: he's strong-willed, and he has always survived the delays, even if they've made him sick, made him caused injury to him, he's always survived them, so that his death sentence can be pushed back 6 more months, gives him more time to figure out what he's going to do. Um, and despite the violence and death around him, he's got a soft spot for one of his guards. She's this blonde girl who comes around, and she can't be his friend, but she kind of is his friend. Um, and she brings him books to read, tons and tons of books. He reads voraciously. Every chance he gets, he's reading. And it shows me that he's not truly given up on himself. He's got that thing, that passion, that thing he loves to do. He's still doing it even though he's in prison. And he's sympathetic. Even though someone is constantly threatening to kill him, there's somebody screaming all the way, I'm going to kill you, you're going to die. And it's directed at him. And he feels bad for that person because that person is also in there for crimes, but his sister was murdered. And he believes that Luca killed his sister. So Luca feels bad for him because he feels he has a sister too. And he really, and I can't tell you the other part about his sister because it comes up later in the book, but he feels like, I understand. I wouldn't want to lose my sister. And he doesn't have the opportunity to explain to this person, hey, I didn't do it. I didn't kill your sister, but I know you're hurting. And he feels bad for him. So he's sympathetic. So he's strong willed, he's sympathetic, and he is persistent. He perseveres, he keeps trying, he doesn't give up. So those are the things that I wanted to say about Luca Kane and about the loop. Um, for most of you, I hope that you have gotten far enough into your books that you can do this fairly well. Notice that I've added some pictures. There's a little Giphy here of a guy walking down a prison hall. Little inmate here looks like a teenager, so I put that on there. So I want you to include some images, memes, bitmojis, Giphies, um, JPEGs, just things that sort of tie into what you're talking about on your page. Because if it's just a bunch of words, it's kind of boring. And as you notice, I have a lot of words here because I have a lot to say about this book. And I expect that you will too. Now, the way that this is divided up, it's one page, but if you look at it, it's a book, and there are 2 pages of the book. I expect you to fill this bad boy. I expect to see a lot of writing. I want a lot. I want to know that you're really paying attention to your book. So if you are meeting with your clubs, you should be talking about these events, and that will help you think of what you want to say in your responses to the book. This is due. I'm going to say I'll make this due Saturday night. I told you everything was due Friday, but I'll make this due Saturday night at midnight. So you have until Saturday to get this done. But you should have already read enough that you can do this. All right, so let's go back to our session. If you have not listened to the story, of course, it's down there at the bottom. And that is really all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, today, other than I really strongly recommend that if you have not set that notebook up yet, you do that. That you have done the meeting log. If you're working by yourself, I still want a meeting log because it's going to have the link to your notebook. Make sure that notebook is shareable because if I don't have the link and I can't get to it, again, you're going to get the big goose egg, peeps. I'm not messing around with this. There's a lot of work involved in this, but it's going to help you really understand the book that you're reading. And I hope you're enjoying your books. You guys picked some really good ones. A couple of them are personal favorites. A couple of them not so much, but that's okay. You might like them, and that's great. Um, but that is all I have for you today. And I want you to spend at least 30 minutes today reading your book club books. At least 30 minutes. Some of you are planning on reading like a chapter a week, or that's not going to work. Count how many chapters you have in your book. Count how many days you have to read the book and divide it. Now, how many days do you have to read the book? I would like these done by the 24th of November, before we go off on the Thanksgiving holiday. So between now and the 24th, figure out how much you have to read to finish your book. That's our goal, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that we meet it. If you have any questions, as always, you can email me. I do hope you come to class. A lot of you don't bother to come to class, but you do watch the videos. Some of you don't bother to watch the videos, and so you have no idea what I'm saying right now. That's on you, not on me. All I can do is try. I cannot force you to watch the video, and I cannot force you to come to class, but we would love to have you. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, T2 out.